This is Tuesday, May 24th. There are 57 days until San Diego Comic-Con 2016. Welcome to SDConCast, the official podcast of the San Diego Comic-Con Unofficial Blog. Good evening. I am your host, James Riley. Joining me on the podcast, Carrie Dixon. James just jokes and didn't think of any further nickname.
That's okay. Hey, everybody.
And also Ben Kucharski. James just jokes part 2. Still no nicknames thought of. All right. So we're just going to get straight into the news because we have some big news coming this week, and a lot of it is starting to show up as we get closer. So first thing we're going to go into is what happened on Friday night at the Star Trek fan event, which is Star Trek Beyond will have its world premiere at San Diego Comic-Con on preview night.
Which is kind of huge.
It's kind of a big deal, right?
Yeah. Little tiny bit of a big deal. I mean, no one seems excited, obviously. No, I'm pretty sure the internet lost its mind Friday night, and it was so funny to me and Kim. I'm gonna go on a quick little tangent because Comic-Con International had emailed us late on Friday night and said at this time, check our website for an exciting announcement. So we were kind of like, it's very late on Friday. How fun could this announcement really be? But we were watching a Periscope of the fan event, and the time when CCI said to check their site came and went. We were still sitting there refreshing, and then all of a sudden it popped up on the Periscope, and Kim and I were both like, this is it. This is the two things we've been waiting on all night just converged. So it was really cool. But basically what's going to happen is Paramount is bringing the world premiere of Star Trek Beyond to the Embarcadero, which is the outside area behind the convention center where the Symphony normally plays their outside shows. And the Symphony is actually going to be playing the score to the movie live during the movie, so that's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
That is really cool.
It is really cool. I know. I'm so happy for them. And they have said that a select number of attendees will get to attend the event. They gave out passes to everyone who was at the fan event to also attend the event. I've heard that each of those attendees got a pass that admits 2. So
500. So
there was about 500 plus. I think they also said they were going to take care of the 100 or so outside. So I think we're really looking at somewhere closer to 1,000 to 2,000, or not 2,000, 1,000 to 1,200. Spots already gone. That area isn't massive. I mean, it held Hall H last year, but that was standing room. And surely this won't be standing room.
You're going to stand and watch a movie for 2 hours?
Yeah, surely not.
No, I don't think so. But I would assume that they'll make it to fit as many people as possible.
I think so too.
What's interesting to me is it said it's going to be on an IMAX screen.
Yes.
That's really large.
Yeah, so clearly they're bringing that in and building it there, I guess.
Are they doing that where the IMAX screen is blocking the orchestra up on the stage, or are they putting the screen somewhere else?
That's a good question.
Because
is the orchestra in a pit?
And have a bunch of people, just filling up that space that would normally be the screen being set up.
I mean, that's a very good question. It's going to be really interesting, I think, to see how many tickets wind up actually being available to attendees. I think it's going to get pretty ugly. Because I think, just like everything at Comic-Con, the demand is going to greatly outweigh the supply.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I think that's true.
Yeah. So if you can't get into Star Trek Beyond, there is a party down the road called Enchantment Under the SDCC. Yeah,
while we miss the Star Trek Beyond premiere.
Yeah, I think my entire staff hates me because they were like, can we skip our party and go to that? And I was like, no.
I think the party is probably as good or better.
What?
No, I'm just kidding.
Ben is raising expectations a little bit higher.
I am now in search of a bald,
oh no,
5'9" guy with beardish looking and glasses who would maybe be willing to walk around our party for a couple hours.
I mean, if you play your cards right, I could do double duty. Like, I could be Ben, I could be James. I'm Ben, I'm James.
So, let's talk about this, because we've had a lot of people asking two questions. One, what time do we think the screening will be? And two, how do we think people are going to get tickets? Obviously, nothing about either of those things has actually been announced yet, but they will be here within the next 57 days. So, what do you guys think?
So, I'm thinking it could be like website lottery. It could be Twitter contests, because of course, you know, it's not going to be come get them at the booth. It's not going to be like a scavenger hunt, because all of that is going to be not possible with it being on preview night.
Right. I think the only possible choice there is, quite frankly, is for them to do some kind of ticket distribution prior to the event. Now, there might be a day of standby line for if people don't show, but I don't think like the vast majority of people are going to get in that way.
That's going to be a sad line.
It is.
You got to wonder also, those 500, 600 people who got the passes, how many of them are going to be able to make it down to San Diego?
Yeah.
Since it happened in Hollywood, I would assume that a significant portion of them can, but how many of them will? And also, is that badge, because it is just a badge, it's not like a named ticket or anything like that.
Yeah.
Those will end up in other meetings.
Let's just take a moment to be a little bit terrified of an additional like 1,200 cars descending onto downtown San Diego on preview night. Good luck finding
parking. If someone had prepared and known this was happening, they could be in group 4 right now and gotten Wednesday night at the Bayfront.
They could have.
My.
Because that is still available. That's the only night at the Bayfront that's still available in parking. So yeah, I think truthfully we're going to be looking at a system very likely to Conan last year. Because I think, just like with Conan last year, I think that CCI has a hand in both. And we all know that CCI loves their lotteries. So I think in order to make it fair, I think we'll be looking at an online lottery.
So revisiting questions about like the Conan ticketing system, I still wonder exactly how that thing worked. I had zero luck whatsoever, and I got and Carrie, you probably got similar messages or whatever, but I got the message that's like, hey, it says you live in Tucson. Why do you want to go to this event? And I was like, so I wrote in the little box, I'll be in town for Comic-Con, and then I never got like waitlisted or anything. So
that's so weird. I don't think I ever got that email.
Huh.
I didn't win anything though. Luckily, my friend Sarah did, and she took me as her date. So.
Yay! Yeah, but like you said, Comic-Con does love their lotteries, and I think a Conan type system would work.
I think it's about the only way because, as we also know, Comic-Con attendees also love to crash their systems. So.
Did we ever figure out capacity for that area?
No, we were talking about whether they're going to do chairs or not and how they're going to set it up, but the capacity is basically how they do set it up.
Yeah, I've been once. I went to the San Diego Orchestra does the Final Fantasy soundtrack thing, and it was sitting in the grass, and that was awesome.
I've got a contact over at the Symphony. I'll see if I can get an answer out of them for that. But
they may do a sitting on the grass thing for this and just not bother with chairs.
Also entirely possible.
Because a lot of people did do that at the Star Wars concert. It's just a vast majority were standing because they wanted to be as close to the stage as possible.
Yeah, yeah. But I would say if Hall H seats like around 6,000, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would say if you add in chairs, at least half that. Yep. So I would say 3,000 is probably about your upper limit that you're looking at. But like James said, it's all going to depend on how they set it up. But there is a ton of other Star Trek events happening all week at the convention. We actually did that we know about so far, and I think there's going to be a ton more, quite frankly. Yeah. But this is the 50th anniversary of Star Trek, and I did an article over the weekend called The Year of Star Trek, because we've kind of been joking for a while that this is the year of Star Trek, and after Friday's announcement it was like, oh, this really is the year of Star Trek. But in addition to that screening, there's going to be a Star Trek 50 Artists, 50 Years art exhibit that's going to be taking place all weekend over at the Michael J. Wolfe Fine Arts Gallery. It's going to have a whole bunch of art by like the late Leonard Nimoy, Tom Whalen, Matt Ferguson, Patrick Conan, a bunch of names that, quite frankly, Comic-Con attendees should recognize. Then there's going to be a Star Trek Trek Talk, which CBS Consumer Products is bringing. They told me that they submitted it as a panel, but if that doesn't happen, it'll be an offsite. Mac Star Trek is having a makeup line launch for their Star Trek makeup, and then I will be truly shocked if there is nothing for the new CBS Brian Fuller Star Trek TV series.
Yeah. I mean, that's I consider that one almost a given to show up.
Yeah, it's gotta. I mean, they just released the short little teaser trailer at Upfronts, and I don't know if they've actually started filming, but quite frankly, even if like as part of a bigger celebration for Star Trek, like as part of some Star Trek for the Ages panel or something, they'll do something for that series.
It'd be really nice to have a reunion panel, even depending on how many people they can get there, like they've done for other shows in the past few years.
It's very really cool. It would be really cool. And we also know that William Shatner is going to be there. We don't know why, but we know he's going to be there. So surely that's Star Trek related this year.
He's always there.
He's always there.
And if their timeline is fast enough, they can have the Pops ready to go and Brian Fuller doing an exclusive signing.
Huh. No, not enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, not another one.
2 or 3 years, not one a year.
That's plenty.
All right. So basically, the con this year is all about Trek. Now, the actual premiere. I mean, you have to consider that J.J. Abrams is involved in the movie as a producer, and he was the director and producer of Star Wars last year, which did a concert in the same place. And maybe he just thought, well, it worked really well last year. Let's do it again. But how can we make it better? And I bet you that is possibly how this came about.
I bet you just might be right, but it's going to be probably the biggest event that happens all week at San Diego Comic-Con, and that is not a small statement. So,
how many people do you think are now scrambling to change flights because they would be coming in later if they didn't have tickets for preview night?
Oh, wow.
I don't know, because the thing is, with most airlines, you have to pay to change, so I feel like most people would wait to get the tickets and then change. That's what I would do. But I'm cheap. So,
Carrie, do you have your plane ticket yet?
Yeah, I've got my plane ticket already. Do you?
I don't. I usually last minute it. They're usually pretty affordable.
That's good. Yeah. For those that don't know, Ben and I definitely not in California. Nope. But for people like us who are coming from out of town who need hotel rooms, there's some pretty kind of exciting news. Well, let's not oversell this.
It was kind of exciting for a day, right?
Yeah, it was exciting for like half an hour. So, even though for Lord knows what reason, OnPeak has not started moving people off the wait list, they did over the weekend very quietly open some hotels back up. They only opened up 6, none of which were downtown. Only 3 of the 6 were on the shuttle route. And of those, the 3 on the shuttle route sold out, another one sold out, and there's 2 left. So, again, let's not oversell this. But if you need a room still, there are a couple rooms available through OnPeak at the Comic-Con secured rate. Again, not downtown, not on the shuttle route, which means you are either going to have to use public transportation, taxi, Uber, rent-a-car, whatever the case might be. But yeah,
so
them's your options.
I know I saw someone bring up an issue of there were 3 rooms or 3 hotels on the shuttle route that were offered, correct?
Yes, of these 6, yeah.
Weren't those an option on the wait list?
Yes.
So why were they put on this sale?
Shruggy emoticon.
Come on, I want someone to shrug. Come on.
As with all things relating to the hotel sale, the answer is obviously Shruggy.
Yeah.
The unofficial mascot of the OnPeak hotel sale.
I mean, we're almost in June, and the wait list hasn't even started yet, as far as we know.
But no, and look, we live in that San Diego Comic-Con hashtag, so I feel like if someone had heard, we would know. No one has mentioned anything about the wait list. And I know that one of our listeners, Travis, he was still calling last week, and they were basically telling him, like, call back next week. Maybe we'll have an answer for you. So,
Wow.
A+ customer service.
With what we've come to expect.
Yeah, but again, and I don't totally understand like why they quietly opened this up.
Yeah. Did they maybe they just assumed that the waitlist people that they were going to be waitlisting would not want those farther out places?
Probably.
Anyway. I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know anything about the sale anymore.
I'm sure all the people. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm sure all the people. Go ahead, James.
Okay, so it was announced, well, by email to people who have this issue. What was it? Just yesterday.
Yep.
Attendees who had their badges bought by 2 different people, or 3 possibly even, but multiple people, and they were going to be shipped to whoever purchased them, they will actually now be combined and shipped directly to you. So anyone who is in that situation where 2 or more people bought your badge for any given day, make sure you log in and make sure that your address is correct because it's coming to you.
Yes, and again, because I've had several people ask me this, again, like James said, it's if 2 separate people bought one person's badge. So that doesn't mean like if James bought my badge and he bought all the days of my badge, that doesn't mean that I'm now going to be emailed my badge. It would only be that way if Ben had bought Thursday and Sunday for me in pre-registration, and then in open registration, James had bought Friday and Saturday for me. So that's the only people who are going to be affected. But what I find really curious about this is that clearly they have the capability then to mail to the addresses in the member IDs.
Right.
They're just choosing not to for some reason. And it might be a cost thing because surely if we're assuming most people yeah.
So if you can mail a third less badges, or a third less mailings to get them all out, then you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And I think the quote we got as to how many this applies to, which is less than 1%. I think that's why they're doing it, because it's so few people.
Yeah, they said less than 1% for 2015. They didn't technically give us a stat for 2016, but I would assume it's comparable.
Right. It's not very large. So I mean, if it's 500,000 people, maybe.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's not a big deal. And it does solve the issue. I think what it will do is it will cut down on the problems as well, where there was badges going to 2 different places. So I can see that they would have to deal with 500 to 1,000 people who were half of their badges or just had some other issue because they were coming from 2 different places.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So that's really good news for attendees who were in that situation. So I'm really glad that Comic-Con changed their minds on that. I think they're doing the right thing. But in other good news, our friends at Toddland announced that they are going to be teaming up with Bob's Burgers this year. They're going to be back at their usual booth, and the booth this year is actually going to be a replica of the actual Bob's Burgers restaurant. I mean, they're not going to be serving food because we've been asked that question, but it's going to be set up just like the restaurant. It sounds really cool. They'll have over 20 Bob's Burgers exclusives at the convention. They're going to have a pre-sale sometime next month. It'll be really cool.
It sounds really cool. I like the show. I think it's awesome.
I haven't watched the show, but I like Toddland. So.
One of the things I think that's interesting about that show is I don't get into that genre at all. I don't watch any of those other shows. I don't watch The Simpsons. I don't watch American Dad. But there's something about Bob's Burgers that I really like. So it can appeal to maybe more people than other shows.
Yeah. I've heard that from several people. It's not just you. I know a ton of people who love that show. I just haven't had the time.
There you go.
So many shows, so little time.
I know.
So little time. I think this is like a record-breaking year of me having gotten behind on shows. I'm going to catch up, I swear.
I feel that way every year. I feel like I just get further and further behind.
That's what retirement's for.
It's
right?
It's the peak TV. That's all it is.
Yeah, and I'm so close to retirement.
TV a day.
Yeah.
So in other SDCC news, we have word that Kevin Smith is going to be attending SDCC 2016 as usual, with lots and lots of offsites. He is bringing 3 of his podcasts to San Diego Comic-Con to take place at the American Comedy Company. On Thursday night at 8 p.m., Fat Man on Batman is going to be taking place. Then later that same night at 10 p.m., Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes are going to be doing Jay and Silent Bob Get Old. And then on Saturday at 10 p.m., Kevin Smith and Ralph Garman are going to be doing Hollywood Babylon. Each of the events are $30 each and are on sale now. And we had talked about, or Carrie and I had talked about this earlier, we assume that there will probably be his usual Friday night Hall H type event, though that hasn't been announced yet.
He's always there. I'll be curious to see, though, if he winds up talking about yoga hosers again, because he's been going around the country right now with that film. But he spent, I mean, his panel last year was even titled Yoga Hosers, because I think that's mostly what he talked about. But the panel is basically just Kevin Smith shooting the breeze.
Right. It basically just starts off with, hey, you know, I'm Kevin Smith. Let's start asking questions.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it
Unless you have a
is.
story to start off with, or a trailer to show, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or unless, you know, he just wants to do a repeat of last year's panel since everybody walked out.
Oh,
bringing that up again.
I think that he's super hilarious. I think I've attended that thing maybe 4 or 5 times spanning my Comic-Con visit, and I think he's like the king of jabber or small talk or whatever. I always think he's super amusing.
Yes.
He is.
I've been to a few of his panels too, and they're always entertaining and hilarious.
Yes, they are. Real quick, though, I wanted to go back and answer a couple questions that we've been asked on Twitter and in the chat. Omar Hassa asked, how many tickets could you get to Conan if you won the lottery? Last year, for each show, you could win 1 ticket with a +1 each, but you could win multiple shows. So basically, you could win tickets for two to each show. And I know a couple of people who won more than one show. Didn't you, Ben?
And this is specifically the Conan taping?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're right, and it's okay, I'm wrong all the time, but I think that you could get 4, because I attended
4?
with...
Okay.
Yeah, because I attended with some people that I knew from Twitter, and it was a husband, a wife, and their daughter, and then they had one extra ticket.
I think you're right, actually.
Yeah, so I think you could have gotten 4. But one of the things that was
go ahead. Based on the ticket that they handed out at the Beyond premiere, that it was a +1, so I think that the tickets are going to be that way this time as well.
For Conan? For Conan?
No, for the movie. I don't think they're going to follow the pattern for Conan.
Yeah, no, we're talking about Conan now. Keep up, James.
James has a one-track mind.
You were talking about it, but you were talking about it in relation to the Star Trek premiere, right?
I would.
Yeah. I'm going to say yes. Yes, James, yes.
Yes.
And one of the things that I thought was really interesting, and of course, policies are different every single time for every single event. At that one, they were real sticklers that you had to be there with your entire party to get your tickets, and I saw them turning people away when they had like 2 of their 4 people. But, when you're calling the shots, you're calling the shots.
It makes sense, though, especially because, basically when they scan in your ticket, you're scanned in. They can't really offer you half and then have somebody come in and scan it again because it would show as redeemed. So I totally understand that. The Conan event was awesome last year. If you get a chance to go, I highly recommend it. And I'm really hoping they bring bingo back this year.
Yeah.
I didn't go to that last year, but every person I saw who went was like, this is the greatest offsite I've ever been to. I saw no one who was disappointed in that event. No one.
And ticketing to that one was similar, right? It was the same.
Yeah, it was the exact same thing. Everything was run through IOTA 1, and I would assume they'll do the same thing again. Moving right along, Tentacle Couple asked me, aren't the Toddland folks making an appearance at your party? Yes, they are. We, a little bit later in this podcast, will be making some more announcements about the party, but yeah, I can go ahead and say Toddland are going to be back at our party this year. They are going to be donating several raffle prizes. Again, they're really great folks. We love them. We love what they do. So get excited. And again, I'll get into it more in a little bit. Can I just say, I think, are going to have the best lineup at our party that we've ever had.
Yay! That's awesome.
Would you agree with that statement, James?
I think that you are correct.
I think I am too. And it's been so much easier this year. Oh my god.
It's kind of neat to know that a lot of last year's work was laying the groundwork for the future.
Yes, agreed. So agreed. Jim Watari in the chat said, this is in reference to Star Trek, I wonder if I'll be able to watch from my hotel room at the Marriott. You might be able to. That'd be kind of cool.
That would be cool.
I
guess for those people checking into the Marriott on preview night, ask for a room with a view.
Yep.
Of the harbor, and hopefully you'll be able to watch.
That is pretty cool. And then M. Nelson said Kevin Smith also normally moderates a DC Comics panel. Yes, that is also true. So he's a busy man.
He's kind of like Chris Hardwick without all of the being everywhere. He's just a lot of places.
Did you see that I worked a Chris Hardwick joke into the Kevin Smith post? Because I did.
No.
I missed it.
Well, I did.
Am I supposed to read our site?
Maybe.
I read it sometimes.
I read it sometimes too. All right, so what else has been going on, James?
What else has been going on is exclusives, and we have, well, not really an exclusive reveal, more as a tease. Mattel teased a bunch of stuff, which is basically they have logos of all of the things they're going to have exclusives for this year. including...
And it's a lot.
Yeah, She-Ra, Thundercats, WWE, Halo, DC Comics, Ever After High, DC Superhero Girls, Kubros, Minecraft, Barbie, Thomas and Friends, Minis, Disney, Pixar's Cars, and Hot Wheels.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, plus Ghostbusters and Monster High, which we already know the Monster High.
Right. Well, and
So,
I keep going
It's a
back
lot.
on Ghostbusters because last year, I mean, some years they've had like Ghostbusters action figures, but technically they released that Ghostbusters Monster High mashup. So I'm like, is that our Ghostbusters exclusive? Is there another
Are
one?
they going to do something from the movie? Or
Yeah. So we'll have to wait to find out. They were supposed to reveal the She-Ra exclusive last week, but it got delayed, I think for licensing issues. But we should start seeing the rest of their exclusives pretty soon. And Forbes, very quietly, actually revealed what this year's DC Superhero Girls doll is going to be. What is that, James?
Katana, right?
Yep.
Which,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know who that is. I thought it was Mortal Kombat,
I did too. That's what I was just thinking.
but I'm like, okay, I guess I need to catch up on DC Superhero Girls now because I don't have a clue who that is.
Well, that's okay. But that's going to be the 12-inch doll this year. So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got
Yeah,
a lot of
that's-
stuff.
That's about what we've got for you on Mattel. In other news, NECA has been... They basically broke the internet this week. Like, I'm still trying to filter out the tweets of people being so excited about this because people are so excited, and for good reason. NECA announced yesterday that they are going to be doing 2 really, really cool Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle box sets based on the the Konami,
Right.
yeah, the Konami arcade game. One of them is the 4 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then the other one is Shredder and some of the Foot Clan, and they just look so cool. Like, they're bright, they've got articulation, like, they just look really awesome. They're going to retail for $100 each, and again, this is the most excited about an exclusive I've seen people in a very long time.
Yeah. People
So,
are talking about it all day, and more people are actually talking about the fact that they're bummed it's an SDCC exclusive because so many people want this.
yeah,
But
yeah. And speaking of that, this one's going to be a little bit different than NECA's exclusives because even though they've curtailed a lot of the having it available in other places, for most of their exclusives, they are actually going to be offering a limited amount of quantity online during the show. This is not one of those cases. This is only going to be available either at the booth or tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific time. They are going to hold a limited amount of up for pre-sale for pickup at the booth only. So literally the only way you can get these is at Comic-Con.
right. So it's going to be pretty high demand.
Yes.
That is awesome. I love when exclusives are exclusive.
Yeah.
It does seem to happen less and less these days.
Yeah.
I
but-
mean, I understand why they're not, but I'd like if, you know, like for companies that do multiple ones, yeah, make at least one of them actually an exclusive that you can only get by being in the building with a badge.
Yeah. And that's exactly what this is. So again, these are, I think they're going to go really quick tomorrow. We'll be watching to see just how quick they sell out. But again, I would assume it's going to be pretty fast. And the links for the pre-sale are up on our site in our NECA post. So.
We don't know how many they're making though, right? 'Cause I know
No.
that the Newt was limited to 3,000.
Yes.
That is up
And I
for sale
feel
now.
like,
But I don't think there was any numbers announced on this.
no, there wasn't. And that's truthfully the only announcement about quantity was released on the pre-sale information today, so I would assume we'll get quantity tomorrow when the pre-sale links go up. But I wouldn't assume it's more than 3,000.
Right. It's going to be a small run.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, Monogram International announced another exclusive, and this time it is a set of Kingdom Hearts pewter keyrings. 4-piece keyring set with looks like 4 different of the Keyblade Kings, including Star Seeker, Sleeping Lion, and
more.
The other two.
Yeah.
But
And more.
That's because they didn't label the other 2, and I don't know anything about Kingdom Hearts.
Right. If I would have played the game, I would know what they were. But anyway, 4 different ones. They look pretty cool, and the set will be limited to 500 pieces and sell for $40.
Yep. And they do a Kingdom Hearts set every year, and it's always pretty popular.
They look very pretty.
They do look very pretty.
I'm naming the other swords Crouching Tiger and Hidden Dragon.
Done.
Ta-da!
Done. M. Nelson said in the chat, Katana is a ninja from Batman and the Outsiders comics, and she is on Arrow. Glad one of us knows what we're talking about.
I would have known that if I had been watching Arrow, but I'm probably not going to watch it until like 3 years from now when it's in the queue somewhere.
It's peak TV.
I'll get to it. I'll know in 3 years who Katana is.
Peak TV. And then you can look back on it fondly and be like, oh, hey, Mattel made a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive of that.
And now I have to go track it down and pay through the nose for it.
Yeah, pretty much. But M. Nelson said, I want the Katana doll, don't judge me. So
Aw, this is a safe-ish place.
it is the safest place. We only judge a little, and mostly Chris Hardwick.
Oh.
Oh.
Just because we were on the subject, I have quit Arrow, and I have no intention of going back. I'm done. It tricked me too many times. And that's a huge demographic. I have no idea.
I think I watched the trailer. It must have only been twice, but in my head I feel like it was 3 times at San Diego Comic-Con the year that it came out, and I've never watched it since.
Aw.
I am 99% sure they showed it when I was in the last time I was in Ballroom 20 was I think the year it aired. They showed it at Ballroom 20, right?
Yeah, I swear though they showed it at least twice, maybe 3 times.
It was the same year as the Firefly panel. That's why I was in the room.
That's probably why I was in the room as well, because I was not there for Arrow.
And I'm pretty sure I only saw about 15 minutes of it because I think I left the room at the time, like to go see someone in the short amount of time I had on the bathroom pass.
Aw.
And come back, and I got like the last 15 minutes of it.
Well, everybody has critiques, and they say that Arrow isn't really one of DC's strongest characters, so maybe he shouldn't have his own show. I don't know. It's entertaining, but as the years continue to go by, it's just kind of like, eh.
A lot of people love it, though. James Guo, this is what I thought, but I didn't want to say this and sound like an idiot. James Guo said that Katana is also in the new Suicide Squad movie, so that makes sense.
That does.
No.
I still don't know if I want to see it. Okay, so in other SDCC news, it was announced on Twitter by IDW President David Ozer that the cast of Wynonna Earp is going to be at Comic-Con, though we're not sure exactly in what capacity. I imagine at the very least it'll be at the IDW booth to promote the comic or something to that effect. And then Sci-Fi so often has panels for their TV shows. It's also never been to Comic-Con before, so if you're a big fan of the show or looking for something new and exciting, it would be a first time that we'd get to see them there.
I will be shocked if this does not have a panel. I think they had at least 2 panels at WonderCon.
They had the world premiere there.
Yeah.
And they had a party, and they had signings.
Yeah.
So, I would expect them to at least come with a panel and some signings or something like that for Comic-Con. I think it's one of those things. I mean, Sci-Fi has a tendency to do a good job whenever they do show up. I know that, and I think they show up a lot more often. I went 10 years ago. They actually skipped a year or two here and there, but they usually do some good stuff when they show up. So I'm expecting, at least a panel.
I feel like IDW, not Sci-Fi, is the one who brought it to WonderCon. But that's still, this is like a huge deal for IDW.
I think they're basically co-producing it, aren't they?
Are they? Okay, that makes sense then.
So.
Well, in that case, I think we could also potentially see some kind of appearance over at the Marriott for Sci-Fi's live offsite this year.
Yeah, I would say that it is a decent show with a solid Canadian cast. High praise.
High praise indeed. James, do you want to take the next one, or you want me to?
Sure, I'll do it. So Entertainment Earth announced today that they're giving away stuff leading up to Comic-Con 2016. They're going to have exclusives and signings and all kinds of stuff going on there, but leading up to it, they're going to be giving things away, kicking off Tuesday, May 31st. They're going to be revealing stuff and giving stuff away.
Yeah, basically every Monday they're going to be giving away Biff Bang Pow Pinmate figures, which that's a new line of theirs that launched at Toy Fair. So every Monday they're going to be giving away different amounts of those figures to various people. So I would also take away from that. They said convention exclusives, Biff Bang Pow Pinmate figures. I would also take away from that we will be getting several SDCC exclusive Pinmate figures this year.
Yes.
Yes, sounds like set to be revealed here starting next week. Entertainment Earth always does some pretty cool stuff, so I'm excited to see what they've got up their sleeves.
Yeah.
And then in other news, we, just like we did last year with the movies of San Diego Comic-Con, this week we are doing the TV shows of San Diego Comic-Con, which none of these are actually confirmed. These are basically just we look at network by network what we think has the potential to come. We kicked it off with the broadcast networks, which, as Kim suggested the other day, some people might not know what broadcast even means anymore.
Oh my God.
So, in answer to that question, that's ABC, CBS, CW, NBC, anything that you could get without a cable box, in ye olden days.
It came from the air.
Catch things in the airwaves as they came to your antenna that you had to turn for certain channels.
Yes.
And aim it the right direction.
Yes. So we looked at those. I've been working on the cable post. It's probably not going to be up until Thursday, but we'll have that up later this week, and then we'll go into it a lot more in depth when we know a bit more in late June with Eric Goldman from IGN. Because, yes, while I have done a terrible job of booking guests for our show in the month of May, in June we actually have people scheduled.
Yay!
So, good times.
I like Eric. He's funny.
I like Eric, too. So, yeah, that's what I got for you. Shall we answer some questions?
Sure.
So
I just answered one just now. This is an easy job.
Oh, you're so funny, except not at all. Earlier today, we asked for questions on Twitter. If you didn't get your questions, and then you can ask them now in the chat, or you can tweet at us as well, and we'll be more than happy to answer your questions live. But earlier today, we had a question from Page to Screen, who said that it's his first visit this year, and what things need to be in my to-do list for the best experience at SDCC. And
don't laugh.
No, it's a fantastic question.
It is.
It's a beautiful, fantastic question that you can't answer easily.
I know, and that's exactly what I told him on Twitter. I was like, it depends on what you're into. But I figured I'd open it up to us and ask you guys individually, like, what would you personally recommend?
So what I would say is, even though we're not really there, kind of going back to our guides on preparation or whatnot, he or she is going to have the most pleasant experience if he has comfortable shoes,
Yes.
snacks on him, battery backup for his phone. So those are like the foundation. And then from there, pick a schedule, and then have like a plan B. But I would say for a beginner, trying to hit a panel in Hall H is kind of a must. Maybe just pick one that you could walk right into. So you could say you had the panel H or the Hall H experience. You definitely have to do the floor. That's a given. Try to do an off-site or two. All right, and then what do you guys think?
James?
I agree totally. I was going to suggest as a first timer, if I saw one of the replies where he said he wanted to do offsites and stuff inside, and I get the impression that there isn't one specific thing that is like, this is something I must do. If that's the case, then I would say try something different every day, and schedule it. Don't just wing it, because you can't wing things very well at Comic-Con.
No.
Unless they just happen to drop into your lap, and then you go with the wing it if it's a really cool thing. But plan like one day of walking the floor if you want to see as much of the floor as possible and actually have time to enjoy it. Don't schedule yourself 2 hours for that. Schedule yourself most of the day. If you want to see a panel in Hall H like Ben suggested, then if there's something that you really want to see, figure out how much time and effort you're going to need to see it. If it's just, I just want to be in there for a panel, then pick one on Thursday or possibly Sunday, because those typically you'll be able to walk into at least one of those panels on that day. There's other panels you can go to. Go to a comic panel, go to an offsite. Give yourself some time for those because of the walking that you're going to have to do, depending on where your hotel is. And again, pick some things that you will like, or something that you think will be interesting. You know you better than we do, so pick stuff you like, not what we like. And other than that, keep yourself open. If you make a plan and something pops up that is awesome, and go do it. Don't keep yourself tied down to a schedule because you must do the thing, unless it's something that if you get home on Monday and you look back on what you were planning to do and you are really sad that you didn't get to do it, then make sure you get that done. Think about that. That's about all.
I agree with all of that. One of my suggestions, and also because I'm a crazy organizer planner person, is, I always make a spreadsheet of like color-coded by like what I absolutely want to do, what is kind of my backup plan, like what else might be going on if I don't get into something. So I always recommend doing something like that, just so if you don't get into a panel, or if you get to something the line looks way too long for you to stand in line in, so you're not just like standing there going, God, what do I want to do? So that's one of my suggestions. And like James said, since you've mentioned offsites, if you're unsure about what offsites to go check out like the Petco Interactive Zone. There's a ton of different things over there. It's not just one company. It's a really good place just to kind of wander around and look at stuff. That's really cool. I always recommend Nerd HQ, because even though I like nothing, I like Nerd HQ. The problem, like we said, is basically it all depends on what you want to do. So just as stuff gets announced, again, just on a spreadsheet, even just like start jotting it down like, hey, this looks cool, and then come back to it later and prioritize, all that kind of stuff. So.
And would you believe, I don't listen to any of this advice, by the way. I make one plan, or I make no plan, and that's all there is to it.
That's fine.
I think my plan.
It works for me, but I'm basically like, I will wait for a day and a half in line to make sure that I get into that room. So why make another plan?
No, that's admirable.
And I agree with that. Usually when I abandon plans, it's because I'm exhausted. And our friend Kendall said his advice is plan, 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 then be prepared to abandon the plan as things develop when you're there. Very true. Very true. And then M. Nelson said, I always tell first-timers to get somewhere at least a half hour before someone else tells you to get somewhere. Very true. No matter, everything will take you longer than you think to get around at Comic-Con. Everything.
Even no plan, which I have done, takes forever.
You're not wrong. You were so not wrong. Yeah. So, anything else? Any other advice we have for him?
No. Just
no.
It's massive. Have fun.
It is. All right. So the next question was from Marco Onen, who asked, how are ticket procedures for Hasbro, Bandai, Funko, Mattel, and anyone else at sales? Is it still first come, first serve? So let me just preface this by saying technically none of these companies have yet to reveal their procedure for this year. Hasbro, though, has been sales for many years, and I would expect it to be sales this year. Bandai has been sales for many years. I would expect it to be sales. Mattel has the potential to change it up, just because they seem to be changing up several things this year. In the past, the way that it's worked is they actually offer a pre-sale online with pickup at the booth, and then there's some availability for if you just line up straight at the booth, no sales. Funko is the biggest question mark on that list. Last year, I hesitate to even call it a procedure, but they have said that they actually met with Comic-Con International last week. They were posting some photos about that. And they've said that they expect to move to sales this year, so I would assume it will move to sales.
And then, Carrie, for anybody watching who doesn't necessarily know what you're talking about, what is sales?
Sales. You know what? Somebody actually asked me this 30 minutes ago on Twitter. Sales Pavilion.
It's spelled differently than you might even think.
It is. It's Sales Pavilion, which is upstairs on the second floor, and it's named after the things on the roof, which are basically giant sails, like on a ship. It's basically a big, massive room. Now that most of badge distribution is not going to be on site, the layout of that room could change a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I
think
have more room.
Have more room. It could still be though where we pick up bags and lanyards and program guides, and I think that's probably still where that's going to be. So probably not that much more room. But basically, if you go to our site and you go to our guides page, we have a guide for lines, and I am not kidding. It's literally called a guide for lines. And it's got maps, and it little arrows pointing you, all right, so when you come in the morning, you're going to go up these escalators, then you're going to turn right here, and then you're in Sales Pavilion, and there's going to be different lines for different things. So go read that.
It'll teach you a lot.
Yes, it will. Go read about lines, because lines are very important at Comic-Con.
You think it's boring. It's just lines.
And it is.
But it's important.
It's so important.
Important boring.
It really is. And then the General Geek asked, we weren't lucky enough to get badges, but are totally on board with off-site events and parties. Any tips for that? First tip is, for any off-site and party, make sure that they are open to non-badged attendees, because a couple of things are actually open to badge holders only.
But yeah, just a little bit of homework could save you a lot of time.
Yes. But there's so much going on down there. Not everything requires a badge. You can just go wander around. But yeah, just make sure you do your research before.
And for things like Nerd HQ, those don't require a badge, and you can just be ready to buy tickets when the conversations for a cause go on sale.
Yes.
Which we're assuming they're going to happen.
Yes.
That there's panels you can go to and see people that will be there in town for Comic-Con anyway, without going to Comic-Con. But they will sell out in about 3.5 seconds. So just be prepared.
3.5 seconds is generous.
Yeah.
But no, there really are. There's a ton of stuff to do down there. Like, not everything requires a badge. Just make sure that what you're going to doesn't require one. Just keep an eye out. We've got an off-site calendar. That's really all I've got for you. T-Tomcat asked, can you chat about schedule planning, especially considering exclusives hunting? Who has more experience than me? Answer, anyone.
So, I mean, like, if we want to talk about schedule planning outside of the context of exclusive hunting, it's one of those things where if you have something that you want to go to and it is happening first thing in the day in Ballroom 20, you are going to want to be out front, a couple hours early. If the thing that you want to see is maybe the second or third thing of the day, but I mean, you want to see it more than you want to see anything else, you'll also probably want to go with the same schedule. You got to get to everything pretty early. You can't usually plan to be attending a panel in Ballroom 20 and then be in one in Hall H 30 minutes later. That's just not going to happen.
Nope.
Unless it's a super special day. But then once you couple exclusive hunting with it, that doesn't really jive at all. It's like one or the other, in my opinion.
I agree with that, and I mean, it's the same strategy for both. If what you want is an exclusive, you need to plan on showing up early, just like Ben said, and make that the focus of your day. Like, you get into Comic-Con most of the time what you put into it. So if something is truly important to you, like, plan on lining up more than an hour beforehand. And then, especially with exclusives, because everybody does theirs differently, just make sure that you know the procedures at the individual booth that you're going to.
And also judge popularity. I mean, some exclusives just don't sell out in the first few days.
Yeah.
And you can walk up on Sunday and purchase some of them. It just depends on the exclusive and the popularity and the print run.
Yeah.
So basically just what we've been saying for almost every other thing is do your research, figure it out, judge based on how people are talking about it or what you think is, I mean, if they're going to do something that maybe is going to have a lot of other stuff happening there where a lot of people are going to be really excited about it, then like the Turtles thing, everybody's excited about the Turtles. Those things are going to sell well. You're going to have to get those as soon as you can and probably wait in a very long line to try and get them.
Yes, agreed. So that's what we've got for that.
A lot of people may not know who are coming for the first time or who don't hunt exclusives too often. Most of the, I'm not sure if this is a hard and fast rule now or what, because I haven't done exclusive hunting, but they are supposed to have the product available at least in certain amount quantities every day. I think at least through Saturday, but I think it might be every day. So if you miss out on an item on Thursday, it's possible it may be there on Friday. I don't know how they have to stick to that or if it's just a suggestion from Comic-Con that they make sure that there's some available every day, but typically stuff is available at least the first couple days.
I think it's mostly either just a suggestion for Comic-Con or some people don't listen to it, because I know for a fact that's not the case at every booth.
Right.
I think it's a very smart business practice. If you get rid of the thing that everybody wanted, the thing that was going to draw people to your booth, what's their motivation to come back or to keep coming?
It's very true.
Because you made all the monies.
Oh, right. And they want to see the people that made all the monies.
M. Nelson said, you can't plan for exclusives lines. They always change. That's incredibly true. Last year, Tokidoki had a tour line all-con for the first time, but Factory Entertainment, that used to have a tedious queue, had no wait. And despite that, I know that Factory Entertainment still sold out of several things. So
yeah, I stopped by there on Sunday, and I think they had at least half of their stuff marked as sold out.
Yeah.
So can't guarantee it's going to last. I mean, some of it, sometimes it will, sometimes it won't.
Yep. Let's look at a couple other tips that some people said. Kendall, and hey, Kendall, thanks for watching, said people should also keep an eye on Twitter for line updates. I got tipped to a short line at Indigo one day last year, switched my plans because of that, and caught some great panels. And that's so true. Even Sean Marshall, who's Parks and Cons on Twitter, he was telling me that he happened to see a retweet that the blog did that on Saturday morning, like, they were still handing out wristbands for Hall H. So even though he had no plans whatsoever to go to Hall H because he assumed it would be completely full, like, no way you're getting in, like, he hopped over there and spent all day in Hall H, which he wasn't planning on doing at all. So
That's awesome.
Twitter is your friend.
Yep.
Yep. I'm looking real quick to see if there's anything else in here that we haven't done. Let's look on Twitter real quick. Nope. What's the next question, James?
From Chris Reasons, what are the best offsite events? We were really wanting to see Hardwick, but are afraid of missing out on Hall H tickets, the wristbands, because they hand them out at night, which is probably right around the time that Chris Hardwick is going to be on for his podcast.
That's a
comedy special.
And that's a really, I mean, that's a real concern. The answer is basically you have to prioritize.
Yeah. It's the whole, you must pick one thing per day that you absolutely have to go to and hope that there's a chance to do more than that one thing.
Yep. But, I mean, what are some of you guys' favorite offsite events? Ben, what's some of your favorites?
I'm trying to think. I've gone to the Nerdist podcast tapings the last several years, and this is the first one that I'm skipping. They're a lot of fun, and I've always really enjoyed them. I mean, last year's was amazing. It was Maisie Williams, Tom Hiddleston, and Guillermo del Toro. So fun, but you just have to block off such a big chunk of your day to kind of make it happen. Then you know you're going to be out late. So I decided this year I will not be doing it. I always get excited just for the random like movie screenings of a movie you've never heard of, and it turns out it's awesome, or the whole cast is there and you didn't know they were going to be there. Our party is always a really cool one.
Good answer.
Yeah, and that's all that comes to mind off the top of my head.
Those are good. What about you, James?
I also have gone to the Nerdist in the past and really enjoyed it. I haven't been in a few years. Wootstock is fun. It's a specific kind of comedy and show. It's also long. I think they usually go for up to 4 hours. So be prepared if that's your kind of thing. It's going to be a long night, which is also same as Ben, why I stopped going, because it's too long of a night for me. I need a soft piece of cement to sleep in for line the next day, so I needed to get out of that.
I get that.
But HQ, I actually haven't gone to too many offsites in the last few years, and I think I'm going to try and change that this year and try and hit up a few, and I might be able to have a better answer for this next year.
That's a good answer. Just like you, I love Nerd HQ, obviously. Funko Fun Days was crazy but fun last year. Ben was there as well.
Yay!
Yay! And God willing, we will be back this year. And as a quick reminder, tickets for that go on sale next Wednesday on June 1st. Conan was really fun last year. I'm not a super huge offsite fan, but I mean, I've done some over the years, but there's a lot of really good ones. So again, it's all look and see what looks fun to you. If it looks fun to you, check it out. our party is definitely the best offsite. And M. Nelson said that his Sophie's Choice is HopCon versus our party. So let's see if we can sweeten the pot a little bit for you, M. Nelson. I am excited to announce that for the 4th year in a row, Hasbro will be offering a Fast Pass to their booth exclusively through us. We're the only people who have that available. We will be raffling that off at our party.
Yeah.
So,
Yay!
it's huge news.
Sweet.
Really excited. And as a quick reminder, our party is totally free to get into. It is first come, first serve, and it's not open bar this year. If that's your trade-off for not having to buy a ticket, is you have to buy your own booth. But not only do we have Hasbro on board, but we have Mattel for the first time ever is going to be helping to sponsor our party, and every single person who attends our party is going to get a goodie bag with a couple of items from Mattel.
That is
Sweet.
awesome.
So I can guarantee you HopCon will not be doing that. So you should come to our party and hang out.
And that's just the start.
That's just the start. We have a very long list of people who are going to be giving away stuff for the raffles and the goodie bags at our party, and we have barely even scratched the surface. So, but I'm very excited about those two. So come hang out. Jamming Under the SDCC, Henry's Pub preview night kicks off at 7 p.m. Good times.
If you don't get tickets to Beyond or HopCon, consider us for your party needs on Wednesday night.
Yes. And if you see a bald man in glasses at the party, it's probably not James because he skipped out.
I will be cloning myself and or finding a doppelganger in the next 2 months.
Good
Love
luck
it.
with that.
Working that science.
Good luck with that.
I mean, the cool thing is we're not hard to come by.
No.
Well.
I mean, we're all unique snowflakes, but we're not hard to come by.
There you go. All right, James.
So we are teaming up again with Uber for $20 off your first ride. The code used is SDCC Blog. And yes, that is for your first ride. I think you have to be a new customer, correct?
Yes.
I believe so, yeah.
Someone asked that question on Twitter, and I figured we'd make sure we answered that. It's for new customers for the first time you use the service.
And we want to remind you all to sign up for the newsletter. Links are in the show notes, and also you can find it very easily on the website. It's a great way just to get a condensed version of what you might have missed during the week or highlights of what's happening in Comic-Con news.
And that should be going out tomorrow because we failed at sending it today. There's lots of other news on our site in our Under the Tents column.
And so thank you all for joining us. We'll hope you join us every week. News, guests, opinions, all the way up until Comic-Con 2016. Ben, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at HelloBK. And Carrie, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Carrie Dixon. And James, where can we find some more of your work on the internet?
I am everywhere on the internet at Dan Regal, or you can check out geekshotphoto.com, where my wife and I have all of our links to our social media and other stuff for checking out our photography.
We are on iTunes. If you'd like to subscribe, the links are up on the blog, or search for SDConCast. If you like what you've heard so far, please review us. We are also on Stitcher Radio. The link is in the show notes.
If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at sdcomiccon.blog@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/sdconblog, or tweet us at sd_comic_con. Thank you for listening, everybody. Go
Shawarma.
Shawarma.
No jokes this time.
No.